All right, so recently on this channel, I posted a behind the scenes breakdown of how I shot an AirAsia campaign in Malaysia. In that video, we broke down the pre-production and shooting process of that entire project, but I got a few comments asking to break down the edit for the final campaign. So this is just gonna be a chill video of me breaking down how I edited that entire campaign, how I took the raw footage and the different cuts and techniques that I used to try and make a seamless video come to life. If you haven't seen that video already, I'll link it down below. And as always, if you're interested in this kind of content, please subscribe, like the video, comment, love the engagement. And let's hop right in. All right, so first off, let me just go ahead and play this entire project and you can just follow along the timeline and see how the different cuts play out. So for this video, I had a pretty clear pre-production and kind of build throughout the entire planning phase where I knew kind of exactly what I wanted to shoot. And for the most part, most of the major transitions were kind of shot listed out. I think the easiest way to go about this is to just go through piece by piece and break down exactly the types of cuts we have, the types of transitions, and then just kind of majorly sound design in this is what takes it to the next level and makes it feel commercial. So let's break this down. Let's just start at the very beginning. I'm just gonna go ahead and mute the music track. This is a custom song they provided, so I made it super simple. Sometimes when you don't have music, one of the longest things you can do is just try and figure out what music to use, but they provided the music for this. And besides this, let's just play through the first part with just sound design. Okay, so one thing I like to do is I like to start videos with impacts, especially ones that are looped. I like to start them with kind of like a hard hitting sound to really start the flow of the video. And then another thing I like to do is I've got some ambient sounds here. One is an interior ambient airport announcement, and the other one is just some taxi line vehicles. Because we have such a chaotic introduction and it's a quick cut intro, I just needed some ambient sounds to really bring this all together. On top of all the sound effects that I pulled to really enhance the movement, we just started off first with a hero silhouetted shot of Heap. I didn't show his shot in the first clip here because at the end I actually wanted to go ahead and reveal the main two characters of this hero video after the flight attendants walk past. So this first shot, I just had cool light leaking here. This was fun to shoot. I was just playing with the light leaks here just to get a cool silhouetted shot where you could kind of see the bag that he was wearing. I think I ended up using something around here, that shot right there. So I just had that reveal shot right as he turns, the light kind of peeks behind him. And I had this cool shot to start out with. And then after that, I just moved into a quick cut intro. And quick cut intros are really fun and really easy to implement into videos. Basically, it's just a compilation of 8 or 9 shots where they're mostly detailed shots. And when I say detailed shots, first we start off with a few detailed shots of airline. The airline is one of the major clients, and the other one is the actual bag company, American Tourister. This is a collaboration video, so I wanted to showcase kind of what both of these companies are all about. So the first one is travel. So we start out with just a couple handheld movement shots here. And if you see just the B-roll, this was all shot on a super zoom lens. I think it was a 70 to 210. And I was just hand holding in the airport while we were walking through security, just getting a couple B-roll shots and movement shots of the airplanes. One of the cool transitions right after you see these airplanes are these kind of like quick whips. You often see these with like whoosh sound effects. And this is just me whipping the camera left to right like an idiot. No slow shutter. This is just regular shutter. And I'm just whipping the camera left and right. But basically what I want is I want this right here. Basically some blur with red so that I could cut it to this right here. If you'll notice right after or right before we see this bulletin board, it's just a quick movement, and that color scheme really helps tie in that transition. Sometimes you can buy wipe and light transitions, but this is an easy way to make your own wipe transition. It's just whipping your camera left and right. This next scene here is just a combination of a tight, a medium, and another super tight shot because I start out with the airplanes. I wanted to move into what American Tourister was all about, which is the actual luggage. So we have here with a company with this zipper sound effect. And this is all done handheld. There's nothing crazy about this. Here I've just got I think that's on a 90mm macro lens I've just punched in here. Just had Olive open up pretty forcefully the zippers. And then I've just timed that as she pulls open the zipper, we go into this next shot here. And this is, I believe this is also on the 90 macro. I just didn't bother switching lenses. I took a couple steps back and just had her a couple times whip her bag. So we had that movement. And then I paired it finally with this last shot here, just a super tight of her really thrusting the bag into that spot, which already had pre-focused so that we can get this cool American Tourister logo. And as you can see here, we did a couple times because it's hard to get this tack sharp every time. This next scene here is a good kind of combination of movements in similar direction. So here we have her pulling the actual luggage handle to the right. And as you'll notice, as she pulls to the right, I actually whip my camera to the left and then the luggage arrives into the left. So it's basically right to left movement, right to left movement. And these sort of things coupled with, let's turn back the sound effects, where there's that hard clicking right as the wheel comes into focus, allows for that smooth transition. It's all about similar motion. Next couple scenes we have, I broke this down in the video previously, but we just rigged up the camera so that it would be sitting on top of this suitcase, and I used a wide 10mm lens, and I wanted to focus in on this AirAsia American Tourister logo as he pulls this camera and this rig. So I just let it run and had him walk with the actual camera suitcase rig. This is a really easy shot to set up for anybody who has kind of like magic arms, magic clamps. We just clamped it to the two left and right handles out of frame here and just sat up the camera so it tilted slightly upwards. And then I just timed it so that we have this reveal shot here. As the two flight attendants walk past, we end up with our two heroes. And I've ended up speed ramping this and adding some title effects here. Let me show you the actual video. I've actually masked the flight attendants. It's just a simple matte draw mask. And I just did this frame by frame, nothing crazy, to reveal this motion graphic of the actual kind of logo for the campaign. And I've animated it so as it moves upwards and we do a slight speed ramp into the next frame here. Real quickly talking about the sound effects for this specific one. We've got some home keys jingling. We've got, I'm sure this is a deep long whoosh. This is a suitcase pushed wheels roll stop. You can see right there. And then what else do we have here? We've got moving a suitcase on wheels. We've got another KTM central announcement. So this kind of like high pitching ring, that one right there is sourced. And also we have like this camera flash too, which I use very often. And it's just a combination of camera clicks and then camera motor sound effects. Just an increase, just a simple overlay that I've put on screen mode, blend mode. And this is one of my favorite. I like to use my dramatic whooshes from my own personal sound effects pack, and that along with the speed ramp. If you know my work, you'll know that I use this all the time. It's just helps to create a seamless transition. So this next sequence here are just kind of beauty shots of Olive as she walks through these corridors here. I think I have a variety of, before I break down the sound effects, let's just go through the actual visuals here. We've got a scene of her walking on the 24mm through this corridor. I've got a speed ramped, kind of like detailed red shot. I think the red here and the red here flow perfectly well to this beautiful hero shot of her as she's putting on her headphones. This is one of my favorite shots from the entire campaign, and we had beautiful lighting here, just a simple diffuser and reflector to really brighten her up. This shot here, I think the key here, just in terms of what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to highlight the actual suitcase and the side bag from a variety of different angles. Nothing too crazy in terms of what I want to showcase. I just want to showcase some pretty wide shots of the environment, basically showcasing that she's walking through these streets here. And I want it to lead up to this big transition right here in the middle, which is kind of like the main transition of the whole video, this DJ spin transition. So none of these shots are really groundbreaking. For this, I've just got her walking, another hard cut. This is a speed ramp right here to what is this? 1000% over 5 frames. And I've got a RSMB plugin, just a motion blur plugin to really enhance that speed ramp. Boom. These are 2 motion graphics provided by the team. You can see right here, with and without. That's without, that's with. And if I turn on the sound effects again are what really bring this to life. Here we've got a dramatic whoosh, and I've added some more ambient sounds. And so here you can see ambient central outdoor market ambience and another deep low whoosh right after this next transition. This match cut is just 2 shots, basically from the same angle, and she's using different items. We just shot this twice. Again, most of these shots are shot on the 24mm 1.4 G Master and also the 10mm Laowa super wide lens. I've just got my gimbal on the FPV mode, which allows for full tilt roll and kind of like spinning panning modes. And it just allows you kind of like a cool freestyle method of moving with the camera. These are all me just moving kind of fluidly, trying to end up with her in this new location here. And leading up to the big transition here, we've got a couple tight shots. This again is on the 90 macro, and I've just got her moving the disc a little bit. And this main shot, the way that we shot it was I just had a 10mm super wide lens with the camera faced on a Lazy Susan, which is like a rotating turntable. And I've just reversed it. This is the actual full clip, reaching down and just spinning it once. But in the edit, I've actually reversed it real quickly just to give it that little right here. And this is just speed ramped. So as you can see here, I've reversed it. She's grabbing it. I've reversed it. And then I've slowly sped that up to the next frame. The next frame is obviously also speed ramped just at the beginning so that there's this seamless catch. And in terms of sound effects, I've just added this DJ beat scratch, DJ turntable scratch vinyl back and forth, along with a riser and another big whoosh, cinematic whoosh. If you get the gist by now, everything is basically just a combination of ambient sounds, actual Foley sounds that match the movement, and then risers and whooshes, if you know anything about my work. Let's just play this through with the sound effects. This is another, just one of those motion whip things that I've added here just to add a little, it's a cheat. It's not the most like enjoyable way to add transitions, but sometimes when you need an extra transition, camera flashes and motion blur whip things are the easiest thing to add in. Oftentimes for these like really dramatic transitions and things that you really want to enhance, I like to add metallic risers. And on top of that, I like to layer that with different risers. So we've got a smooth cinematic whoosh, a metallic riser. We've got these DJ sounds. And then you want a big impact right as he catches that camera. After she's spun and he's caught it, I wanted to emphasize this sort of like ringing kind of disorientation. And what I like to do oftentimes is add what's called a low pass, which basically muffles the music. And then I've crossfaded that back into the actual song for the rest of the video. So here's the same track. I've just put a little cut here, splice, Command W, whatever, and then just crossfaded it across the low pass version and the regular version. As you can see here, it gets back to the regular sounding. Here we just have Heap hold the camera, and I've basically guided it to this final position. And then I've just had him bring up his camera. That's it. This next sequence here is pretty interesting. It's basically, I've showcased this on my Instagram a lot, but it's basically this fake printer effect. This coupled with this flash and printing sound are a great way to kind of like introduce a person in a new location. What I've gone ahead and done here is I've actually created multiple. So this is a scene with Heap. It's just a single scene of Heap like sitting here and then just bringing up his camera. What I've gone ahead and done is I've gone in and removed him through generative fill in Photoshop. I've gone ahead and done frame by frame, redrawing him out over 4 frames each in this paper texture thing. So I've cut him out, I've brought it into Photoshop, and I've overlaid, soft lighted some paper textures and added this rip. So it looks like over 5 frames, he's printing himself out. And this takes a few extra minutes, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to really add emphasis in your transition. And so the other thing I've added is these 2 laser things. Yeah, these are just lines that are like on soft light, I think, or lighten, and I've just blurred them out with directional blur, Gaussian blur, and I've just moved them kind of along with this printing effect, just to add a little bit extra visual interest. In terms of sound effects, this is where this shines. I've added like that printing sound effect. As well as a whoosh as he brings up his camera, and then it goes into this sequence of him kind of like through his viewfinder. And this is basically just a viewfinder that I made in Photoshop. And I've just taken my zoom lens and I walk around the street and I just shot random movement, like following people moving and just zooming, just chaos. And I wanted to cut that with that overlay, and that with like motorbike sounds was a super easy way to showcase this. That motorbike sound is really what brings it all together. I think there's like 3 cuts here. You can see right here. 1, 2, 3. This is just movement, and it's a wide movement tight shot. And as this red car drives past to reveal heap, that's the transition I get from coming out of kind of like this viewfinder mode back into like real life. So we have chaos, 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 and then it shows heap again with the 2 bags. And another, I don't know if you catch it, another one of these whip movements. Super easy, super lazy, but effective. And then before we enter this final phase here of them together again, I just have a couple movements of kind of like hero shots here. Let me pop it on with the sound effects. And this shot I've got heap, he's actually just closing the suitcase on top of a 10mm shot that we have right inside the suitcase. Moving along, we have this scene of them together, and if you notice, right as he closes the suitcase, I have this huge dramatic whoosh sound, and it also coincides with this slight zoom in movement. This is all done in camera, and with the sound effects, the sound effects really bring that together. I've got some sound effects here as well, and these motion graphics that they provided, instead of like a regular flash, this is like these red scribbles. This sound effect was just recorded on this actual Sony Cybershot that I shot this on. These last few shots are all shot on the Laowa 10mm. They're just super wide movement shots. And the sound design is basically just a combination of whooshes, suitcase rolling, and the final transition is this final shot of them at this train station again, taking a cool selfie with the logos. And if I just break down the actual shots that bring us to that final conclusion, here I'm just working with the 10mm on the FPV mode again, and I'm just trying to follow them. This is on the PTF because it's locked. These are obviously, you can tell there's like a rotational aspect. This, I'm just trying to keep him central. These are just the raw clips. This is handheld on the 10mm, me just trying to get some different movements. Again, this is handheld. And this is, again, handheld. They're walking past me. This clip is actually shot from previously, that same kind of like chaotic intersection clip. I just clipped one of these movements here where it's like a zoom and a whip out. That's all handheld. And these sort of handheld movements are great to incorporate into your transitions, and something that you could really easily achieve and film on location. Just after you've shot your main clips, just go ahead and get crazy with your movements, whip your camera around, do random zooms, stuff like that. It's something that you won't expect how much you can end up using them in final edits, but as long as you shoot them, it takes like an extra 2-3 minutes to get like 2-3 minutes of just random footage of movement and zooming, and it's great to have a zoom lens for this particular situation. 2470 works, a 70-300 or 200 or whatever. Anything you have works because it's not about the quality of the actual content, but it's more about the movement and the blurring that you can go ahead and couple with sound effects to make look really enticing and add a level of dynamic movement to your final video. This final shot, again, it's all handheld, and it's just me zooming the camera physically in and out and doing some movement. And if we just watch this through its entirety, you can tell like I'm getting wide, I'm getting tight. I'm doing this a couple different times. And I like to take these for extended periods of time because you don't know exactly which cut is the best cut. And yeah, if we just watch that with the final sound effects one more time. I like to end the same way I start with. Basically, I start with impacts. I like to end with risers, and this is like a deep low synth riser, another deep impact riser that ends kind of the video on a high. Let's just play this second section here with the music. So that was the whole video, and basically just to give you a little bit of information on how I go from my raw clips and my selects from the day to this final video. Basically what I like to do is I like to start with the main video music track. So obviously this was provided by the team, and I like to take that and figure out and create markers on where I think the major inflection points are. And sometimes if your track or music track doesn't have inflection points, you can actually chop it up on specific passages or specific sections and create your own like readjusted track. I'm not a music expert, but this is just how I do it. I just take kind of like the chorus or main sections and chop it up and create crossfades. You can basically Frankenstein your own version of like a track to fit whatever time frame that you're looking for. So this obviously was for 30 seconds. And what I like to do is get my music set up. This music is really punchy. It's really energetic. What I like to do is just scrub through all of my footage and find little sections or little cuts of things that I think work really well. I basically round up all those selects, and then I'll figure out kind of like what is usable and what is not usable. And from those selects, I'll go ahead and place them where I think fits best throughout the narrative. Obviously, this was totally pre-produced, and I had a shot list of things I wanted to capture. The freestyle stuff is where you can place in your edit where you feel like maybe something didn't quite flow exactly how you expected it to. Those are things that you can freestyle and add in and just make it feel a lot more fluid. Sound design and sound effects are what can take your video from basically kind of just like a corporate montage video to feeling like something very authentic and very immersive. Those things will elevate and help bring your video feeling like it's the next level. Honestly, it's probably more than 50% of all videos is sound design. But basically what I go ahead and do is I like to go ahead and place all of my tracks after I've created kind of that music tempo and figure out where my major transitions will land. Then I go ahead and sound design everything. And after I sound design everything, I'll go in and add any sort of like flashes or camera things, or as we spoke about earlier, those sort of like movement shots. Sometimes when you have lulls or just too many shots in a row with no major transitions, they don't feel as high tempo as the rest of the video. So that's where I place those kind of camera flashes and those motion whips. Those I kind of generally consider low effort and kind of lazy transitions. But if you don't use too many of them throughout your video, then you can kind of hide them with your higher pre-planned transitions, and your overall video feels a lot more complete and authentic and professional. So yeah, sorry if I breezed through that. If you want to look at any of these specific transitions and how we shot them, please refer to the full BTS that I posted recently. I'll link that down below again. If you're interested in my favorite sound effects and also the LUT that I used to color grade everything in this video, this talking head and the actual final video, please check out my store. I've got LUTs, sound effects, I've got different packs for editing. I've also got various tools and resources for creatives alike. Thanks again for watching. Please stay tuned. Please like, subscribe. A lot of you guys aren't subscribed, and I appreciate it. If you subscribe, it really helps the channel. Share it with your friends, and I'll see you guys in the next one.